standing on $5 million of real money. And competing for this $5 million are these 1,000 contestants. Come on in.
I grew up homeless, and now I want to help other homeless kids. And that $5 million would mean everything to help me get there.
I'm competing in Beast Games because I have a lot of student loans to pay, and I work like 3 jobs to pay rent, and just like a break from the horrors of reality would be really nice.
Wow, okay, well, pack your bags because you just won your own private island!
Wow, no way, that's amazing. I live in Ohio. Does it come with like a private jet or like a boat or something? I don't really know how I'm gonna get there.
Wow, guys, isn't that great, guys? This is crazy, guys. You just won a whole private island.
Do I have to pay taxes on the island? On the private island that I now own, do I have to pay taxes on it? Or is it like tax-free? I'm sorry, I don't really understand how this all
And don't
works.
click away because next we're inviting 1,000 people to compete for $5 million cash. Woo!
Wow, that's really cool. I actually would have rather had the cash than the island. Hey, listen, I'm gonna need you to look at the camera and say, "Thank you, Mr. Beast." All right? The camera. Crying would be great. Can you cry too, actually? Thanks, Mr. Beast. Hi, I'm back, and this time I'm talking about Beast Games, because every YouTuber has to talk about Mr. Beast, or else technically they aren't really a YouTuber. Why does Beast Games feel dystopian, but other reality competition shows like Jeopardy or Ultimate Ninja Warriors don't? And when I say feels dystopian, I mean it feels like something you'd see in a movie or a book about a future made-up scenario where everything goes wrong. For example, Blade Runner, Hunger Games, 1984, V for Vendetta, Brave New World, and so many more. The reason really boils down to how much it's modeled after Squid Games. So let's talk about it. This is not a Mr. Beast hate video. I think he's a very talented, driven individual who has done great things for himself and others. He's not perfect, but in a sea of influencers and billionaires who hoard money, Mr. Beast at least gives his away, and his philanthropic efforts are no small feat. With that being said, Beast Games still feels dystopian, and he's at the center of it. This video is my opinion of Beast Games. You're allowed to like the show. I'm not saying you're wrong if you do. So yeah, let's move on. In September of 2021, Squid Games Season 1 airs on Netflix, and it's a hit. It's a critique of economic inequality, systematic exploitation, and the dehumanizing effects of capitalism. It's set in South Korea, but as an American living in a country where the top 1% control 99% of the wealth, yeah, you know, it translates well. The show uses brutal childlike survival games as a metaphor for the real-world struggles faced by people trapped in the cycle of debt and poverty. With so many Americans living paycheck to paycheck, needing to work insane amounts of hours just to get by in a system that favors the wealthy, it's no surprise that this show resonated with so many. Soon after, in November of the same year, Mr. Beast recreates Squid Games, but minus the killing. The YouTube video is lighthearted and fun, while it replicates a piece of media showcasing the harsh realities of capitalism, missing the point, and immediately profiting as it becomes one of his most viewed videos. Amazon, a company that made $574 billion in 2024, caught a whiff of the money to be made here, and Beast Games was born. It's no secret that Beast Games is modeled off of Squid Games. In fact, they're doing everything they can to make us subconsciously link Beast Games with Squid Games to get the same audience that watched the show to watch theirs, down to the name of the show itself. Because obviously the reason why Squid Games was so popular was because it's fun to watch poor people compete for money in a broken system, and not because it resonated with a lot of people stuck in the cycle themselves. The eeriness of Squid Games and why it resonated with so many people is partly because it's not set in some other dystopian world completely different than our own, like Hunger Games or Ready Player One. It's set in real life, right now. The Squid Games don't exist, but it's entirely plausible, and that's what's so scary about it. That's why when you see Ji-hoon hit rock bottom so hard that he's willing to risk his life to get out of it, you get that sinking feeling in your chest. Because in reality, most of us are one tragedy or one surprise bill away from this level of desperation. In the show, what drives these individuals to compete aren't grand or out-of-this-world scenarios that only happen to people in fairy tales. It's just debt, addiction, and bad luck. It makes you think just how easily it could be you, too. You find yourself asking, would I compete? This isn't some cautionary tale. We're living it. That's why the show really hits home for a lot of viewers. Any one of these people could be you. In Beast Games, you aren't just winning money, you're winning generational wealth.
Take home this generational wealth of $5 million.
You are winning a chance to break the cycle of poverty your family has been in for centuries. How easy is it too? Just press a button, just stack some blocks. Dance, monkey, dance! They are commodifying their struggle for entertainment, constantly emphasizing how much money this is and how life-changing it can be to heighten the drama. None of these people are competing to the death, and it's all fun and games. But as you watch, part of you knows deep down there are individuals out there that would compete to the death for this money. The cynic in me thinks that they won't even have a hard time finding contestants. But in reality, probably not. I don't know, you be the judge. Commercialization of Squid Games and why that relates to Beast Games. The commercialization of Squid Games is a huge factor in why we can see the dissonance before even watching Beast Games, before even seeing the show. Speaking of commercialization, before we continue, let's lighten the mood tenfold while we talk about today's sponsor, HelloFresh. And don't get on me about having a sponsor. They're the only reason why I'm able to take time away from what actually makes me money to make this video. Okay, so thank you to them. I can critique capitalism while also participating in it.
HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, and it's Amy's too, because I've been using HelloFresh for like 4 years straight. It's perfect for my lifestyle, and it makes my life easier. One of my favorite parts of the week is going through their over 50+ dinner options to pick my meals, and then sneaking a little peek at their market items to see if something catches my eye. Perhaps some breakfast, or maybe a little sweet treat. This week, my meals are 1 pot Mexicali black bean soup, beef and mushroom stew, and Vivette steak and creamy horseradish sauce. Horseradish, that's hard to say. All the recipes are super easy and spelled out step by step, which is perfect for someone like me who needs that. The Mexicali soup was done in like 20 minutes, and I only used 1 pot. Though sometimes I do order their more premium meals, like their beef stew. Join me while I pretend to be a whimsical tavern woman making stew for adventurers. Each box is packed with fresh ingredients, and everything arrives pre-portioned and right at your door for less hassle. I just skipped a trip to the grocery store, and because I have no leftover ingredients, they don't end up rotting in the back of the fridge because I forgot they existed. This meal is made with meat, but you can customize it to fit your lifestyle with meals that are fit and wholesome, family-friendly, quick and easy, vegetarian, and more. And everything can be tailored to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date, and even skipping a week when you're not able to cook at home. As their seasons change, so do their seasonal menus, which highlight peak ingredients and flavors of every season. For example, in December, there were some delicious recipes with butternut squash. Oh, also, right now, HelloFresh is giving away free breakfast for life. Get 1 free breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. Ta-da! And just like that, my beautiful stew is ready. And now that the adventurers' bellies are full and they're relaxing after a long day of slaying dragons and saving princesses, it's finally time for me, a simple tavern woman, to sit down and enjoy my meal. And enjoy it I did. Click the link in the description or use my code AmyKJan10 and get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while subscription is active if you're in the US. Outside the US, the local discount applies. And with that, thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video, and let's get on to it.
Well, that was fun. Let's darken the mood again. The sensationalizing and the commercialization of Squid Games feels tone deaf because it directly contradicts the show's core message. As I've said, Squid Games is a critique of wealth inequality and exploitation, where people in desperate situations are forced by circumstance into brutal competition for survival, all for the entertainment of the powerful. Turning that into real-life branded experiences like reality shows or themed merchandise is entirely missing the point and taking the suffering of the desperate and basically slapping a logo on them for profit. In the show, the rich and powerful who bet on the lives of the contestants are shown having no regard for human life. They watch like they are watching Sunday football, betting on human lives like racehorses, completely desensitized by the violence. Well, in fact, they love it. It's to show how these players are not even human to them anymore, just playthings for entertainment. In season 2, they repeatedly refer to them as trash. When I see the message of the show stripped away to advertise pizza or whatever, I feel like I'm going crazy. It's like taking the movie Parasite and using one of the main characters, who was repeatedly said to smell poor, it's a whole thing in the movie and it brings him shame, to advertise cologne or candles. It's a serious critique. Why doesn't Squid Games get the same treatment as other shows and movies? The answer will shock you. By reducing Squid Games to just entertainment, these companies are trivializing its social commentary. The focus shifts from the critique of whatever version of capitalism we're in right now to the spectacle of people playing games for money. It's what made Hunger Games so exciting. Children fighting for their lives, yay! The capital in the Hunger Games glamorizes violence for mass entertainment to distract from the injustice and oppression of the districts. So when I see shit like video games and sneakers and alcohol using Squid Games to sell products, or even Mr. Beast being like, should I be so silly and recreate season 2 and 3 of Squid Games? I feel gaslit! It feels like they're trying to distract us from the real meaning of Squid Games. I feel like I'm the only one that thinks this looks super disrespectful and tone deaf. The bastardization of its message gets even worse when you find out that the creator of Squid Games, Hwang Dong-hyuk, originally wrote the show to end after season 1. Netflix owns the rights to the show, which includes branding and IP. Hwang spent over a decade trying to get the first season made, and it's common with streaming platforms with smaller creators to sell their work outright in exchange for funding and global distribution. He didn't expect it to be received as well as it did, and after its success, Netflix pushed for a second season. So he wrote 2 more seasons, and wow, he is not being subtle with his messaging anymore. I'm sure these companies are fully aware of what they're doing, but they just don't care, and no will fall for it. If there's money to be made, that supersedes all. And heck, we're easily distractible. Oh, being stuck in the cycle of poverty doesn't feel so good. I don't like that these companies are exploiting us for record-breaking profits. Jingle, jingle, jingle. Beast Games. Jingle, jingle. Look, you can win a Lamborghini.
Millions of dollars of cash prizes on top of the $5 million. We're giving away a Lamborghini and a multi-million-dollar island.
Ooh, a Lamborghini, wow, so cool. A car I'll need to put premium gas in that I can't park in my neighborhood because it get broken into or stolen. Give me a luxury version of a sensible car, or just don't bother at all, because all you're doing is giving me something that I have to go through the effort to sell and then pay a bunch of different taxes on selling it. I don't know. In a lot of reality TV shows, they do let you choose money over prizes, like those trips to Hawaii from the 90s. So I'm assuming that's the case here? I know he's giving these things away because they are showy and expensive, and everything has to be big and grand. So I promise, I get it. It's just funny. It's just funny. And we can all agree it's mostly about the spectacle more than anything else. Spectacle of the Lamborghini and the private island.
Spinning a wheel could net one of tonight's players a life-changing £50,000.
Inside one of these 26 cases is one chance at $1 million.
Our top prize has now reached the staggering level of $2,060,000. Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Why don't other game shows feel dystopian? They have people competing for money too, right? True. And remember, it's mostly because of Beast Game's similarities to Squid Games, but you can argue there's a little more to it. With Beast Games, the focus is, look at all this money! Ooh, look how big our set is and how much of a budget we have. We built a whole town! Other classic reality competition shows focus more on skill and knowledge. For example, some of my favorites like Chopped, Top Chef, Fortune Fire, Making It, they all focus on skill. Jeopardy, Price is Right, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, on knowledge. Of course, skill and knowledge overlaps, but you get it. They are competing for money, but the emphasis isn't on the desperation or luck of these people. Not that Beast Games is intentionally emphasizing that, but they do a fantastic job of showing off just how many people are crying and yelling and in all forms of distraught over losing a chance at a lot of money. Nameless individuals in a sea of green jackets. When you don't focus on the humans, you don't have a chance to get to know anyone, so there's no one to root for. I'm having a hard time making my point here, but basically it's the lack of humanity in Beast Games and the emphasis on how much money they're giving away and how life-changing it is and how generous Mr. Beast is instead of the individual people. That may change in later episodes as contestants are whittled down, but I'm sorry, I can't stand more than a single episode of the show. You'd have to Clockwork Orange me to get me to watch the rest. But I don't have to, because this review isn't on the show itself. I'm critiquing its vibe. Anyway, for funsies, let's look at episode 1 of Beast Games and quickly talk about what inspiration they took from Squid Games and why it's tone deaf. Numbered jackets. In Squid Games, the players are reduced to numbered participants in a system where only their utility, the entertainment they bring, holds value. The players' lives are exchanged for prize money, making human life literally quantifiable. It's a metaphor for how these elites view us more as moneymakers than human beings, how they justify horrible working conditions and lower wages for bigger profits that will satisfy their shareholders. To them, your worth is tied to your economic contributions to society. Putting the players in numbered green jackets in Beast Games is unintentionally dehumanizing them. We never even get to learn their names outside of their numbers. Even the players know this on a deeper level because in one challenge where one participant can take money and eliminate an entire row, they start to share their names to humanize themselves and inspire empathy in their fellow contestants to prevent them from selling them out. Tone deaf. Side note, having numbered jackets by itself doesn't immediately mean that there's dehumanizing going on. Like football players have numbered jerseys, right? But again, it's because of the source material that it's coming from. I mean, I can think of one other example from, say, the 1940s where numbering people wasn't good, right? Case by case basis. Moving forward in further examples, it's the same idea. You have to consider the context. Squid Games masks. Mr. Beast's helpers are wearing Squid Games-like masks. Why do the guards wear masks in Squid Games? For anonymity, yes. It makes it easier to pull the trigger or to commit violence when you're hiding your identity, but really it's about the separation of class. The different symbols on the masks are meant to show a social hierarchy mirroring the real world. Those having the least power, then the triangles, then the squares, then the front man. Then the elites. The maskless being the vulnerable and powerless. In season 2, we see that the guards are individuals who are also caught in that same oppressive system, pointing out that some people will justify hurting their peers and becoming tools for the frontman and elites so long as they feel above the powerless, or special, or chosen, but also because they're told to, and they're desperate to get out of their current situation. In Beast Games, they wear them to look cool. And they wore them in Squid Games, remember? So that's super awesome. But yikes, it's giving class division. Tone deaf. Childlike themes. This one isn't as egregious. In episode 1 of Beast Games, they stacked blocks, but my understanding is the challenges do stray from children's games. I'm not sure. I mean, at least in episode 1, they strayed from children's games to do some weird psychological shit. Whether it does or doesn't isn't the point. It's the fact that it's there, you know, along with all the other bright colors and the overall Mr. Beast aesthetic, which, given his audience, I'd argue that Mr. Beast theme is in itself childlike. Either way, it's still an underlying theme, so let's talk about it. Everything is childlike in the Squid Games facility because, first of all, it's just a disturbing juxtaposition. Seeing a playground covered in blood is straight up haunting. But also it's a metaphor for the loss of innocence in a brutal world. Everything was so much easier before we had to pay bills, am I right? It's why I still play every Pokemon game that comes out. Why I still check on my Neopets from time to time. Simpler times. Children's games represent simplicity, fairness, and of course, again, innocence. So when the players walk in, they have the illusion of fairness. These games are easy. We all played them when we were kids. We all know the rules, and they're simple too. Just like in real life. The rules are simple. If you want to make more money and break the cycle, just pick yourself up by your bootstraps and work. Easy, right? Don't worry about the fact that your salary doesn't go up with the price of goods, and to get a better job, you need an education that costs thousands of dollars you don't have. And also, you have no time for education because you have 2 jobs and a side hustle to pay rent, or a child to take care of. Sure, there's a way out of poverty, but if you've been there, you know it's not that fucking simple. In season 1 and 2, the players are given the chance to leave the games after finding out its murderous nature, but still choose to stay. These games, they decide, are less brutal than the real world. They believe they have a better chance in the games than the outside. And every aspect of the games, including the nostalgic, childlike atmosphere, tricks them into thinking this way. But these games aren't fair either, despite the illusion of it. Like the Dalgona shapes favoring the triangle, or tug of war favoring the strong, or the glass stepping stone game basically dooming those who go first. There's an unfair advantage in each game even though it's presented as fair. The oppressed and powerless, disillusioned by the unfairness of the outside world, are tricked into feeling like they finally have a chance. Finally, on an even playing field. But it's still rigged against them. Back to Beast Games. It carries over a little. All these people are here thinking they finally have a chance to break the cycle, and that this is the closest and easiest way to a comfortable life. But the games are mostly based on chance and luck instead of skill and knowledge. It all depends on where you stand, or who your neighbor is. Just like in life, you're born with the cards you're dealt. It was never fair. Just like the world they left behind them when they entered the games. This one I'm giving half tone deaf rating because I know it's not that deep, but it still bothers me. Tone deaf. Kinda. Piles of money. In Squid Games, the money is just out of reach, but close enough for them to see and believe it could be theirs to influence their decisions. It's the carrot on the stick, constantly reminding them of the reward they're fighting for. So close, yet so far away, just like how financial success often feels out of reach for the working class. Aspirational, but not attainable. It's a manipulation tool used to motivate the working class to keep going, to keep working and making them money, or to keep fighting or playing in murder games. It's about exploiting the hope of the desperate. In the case of Beast Games, it's just a bad look. I want to give him a pass because being showy with cash is his thing, and I think he'd have done this even if it wasn't in Squid Games. Like, I don't think he added a pile of money just because Squid Games did it. But again, bringing 1,000 working class individuals into a room where they can all see a giant pile of money for shock value, it's just not a good look. Tone deaf in general. Desperation. The difference between Squid Games and Beast Games is the murder. But what makes them feel so similar is the desperation. Mr. Beast has always been one to put someone on camera crying about how the money he gave them was changing their lives, and they can finally get out of crippling debt or pay for something like school or a home or a car or whatever. Part of his image is helping the needy. So we may not know why these people are here, but based on his history, as well as the show he's ripping it off of, we are already assuming, whether it's true or not, that it's people who very much need this money. Is that the case? Well, we don't know everyone's situation. There's 1,000 people. Statistically, there's a chance there are people at Squid Game's level of desperation, but from the contestants who shared how they would spend the money, we can see that it's not all of them. This one kid was even like, yeah, I just want a yacht. Okay. These players aren't like the players in Squid Games, which means this is fun and happy and not exploitative, right? Well, just because some of these people aren't in thousands of dollars of debt doesn't mean they aren't desperate. In this economy, 5 million buckaroos? Are you telling me no one here is feeling intense desperation for $5 million? No one incredibly well off is going to compete in a game like this. You're not going to see Elon stacking blocks with the timer going, sending his heart out to his fellow contestants. Just because you're paying your rent on time doesn't mean you aren't struggling for money or stability. Are these people in the same dire situations like those portrayed in Squid Games? Probably not. But you and I both know they aren't just there for the funsies. Even the kid who tried to look cool by saying he just wanted to buy a yacht, instead of revealing why he doesn't currently have the money to buy a yacht, is there because in the current system, this may be his only chance to live a comfortable life where he owns one. Mr. Beast is not going out handpicking the most down on their luck people in America, but he doesn't have to. They will go to him. And we all know that. And that's part of why it feels dystopian. And again, with the no murder thing, the severity of the consequence doesn't matter. Just because they aren't dying doesn't mean it's less dystopian. A good moment to show what I mean is when Sammy tells Minsu that she chose to stay in the games because, again, the outside world is scarier. Once again, she finds the struggles of the outside world to be worse than death. The dystopian nature of it all is the dramatic lengths we all need to go to be financially secure in an unfair world. Because competing in a high-stakes competition like this while the world watches for entertainment could be someone's last desperate attempt to break out of their personal hell. It isn't Beast Game's fault that the world is what it is. They're just trying to make a fun game show. And any game show dangling large amounts of money in front of people will breed desperation. But you don't need to stoke the fires of it. Tone deaf. So yeah, the issue is really just how much they modeled it off of the Squid Games without taking into consideration what the show is actually about. Do I think it's a bad thing that people won money off of the game show? No. Do I think that Beast Games is evil? Absolutely not. Do I think that these people were exploited to a certain extent? Yeah, all game shows do, just some more than others. That being said, I find this show to be tone deaf and disturbing, and I won't be watching more. Unless maybe they completely separate themselves from Squid Games and stop making it so centered around money. I probably still wouldn't watch, but maybe. Next season, they need less players and more human connection. Again, give me someone to root for. Otherwise, why would I bother tuning in next time? I'm sure all he's thinking is, I'm helping people and I'm creating good content. He's so focused on making the best show ever, he doesn't see the dystopian elements of it. I can already tell there's going to be multiple seasons and absolutely no change. And why would they? The show was #1 on Prime for weeks. I'm calling it now. Next season, he's starting with 10,000 people, then giving away a cybergini and the rights to a small European country. What do you think they're going to give away in Beast Games Season 2? I want to know your thoughts. Put them in the comments. In conclusion, does the world really need Beast Games? I don't think so. One thing I will say, for selfish reasons, I'm very happy to see a YouTuber succeed outside of YouTube. The entertainment industry is so set in their ways, and they look down on YouTubers, influencers, whatever, and rarely give them a chance on anything. So I will celebrate his win on the sake of progress, even though I wish it wasn't in this way. Thank you so much for watching. I promise the next video is gonna be more lighthearted. Probably. Maybe? Yes, it will. It will. Anyway, bye!